Okay. Thank you, Maureen. And good evening, everyone. Thank you for your patience. My name is June Veely, and I'm the chairperson for the Planning and Zoning Commission. As indicated in the agenda for this meeting, there is no in-person public access. WebEx meeting link information and dial-in conference call number was provided and posted on the town website for the commission members, applicants, and other interested persons to participate. For those listening, I would ask that you mute your phone or computer if you're able to do so that we do not get any background noise. Please also try to use your handset when available. Speakerphones and Bluetooth may cause interference. When it is time for individuals to speak, I will ask that you unmute your phone to identify yourselves. If a number of people ask to speak, we'll ask you to be patient until your turn. I have two very important reminders. First, every time you speak, you must state your name and title for the record. Second, we must be careful not to speak over one another so that everyone who is listening can hear what's being said and we have a clear record. For this reason, when it comes time for the commission members to comment and ask questions about a particular agenda item before any action is taken, and then to vote on the agenda item, our planner, Maureen Giusti, will call the roll. Also, this meeting is being recorded and the recording will be posted on the town's website. I'm now going to ask Maureen to take the attendance by calling the roll. Thank you. And just for the record, the time is 7:22.
Okay, I am going to unmute all, but if the non-commission members, when you're not speaking, if everyone would mute their phones and then unmute, the commission members unmute when you want to speak, I'd appreciate that. Thank you. And I actually need the roll. Chairman Veely is present. We know that Steve Woolman is absent. We have, I need the roll.
I can't hold on without it.
For the record, John Michael O'Brien. John Michael O'Brien. Okay, absent. Curtis Holtman.
Present.
Diane Joycey.
Here.
Tim Zigmont.
Here.
Brian Rogan. Brian Rogan. Absent. Steve Woolman is excused. Steve Biella Jr. And Chairman Veely. And we have a quorum with Joan Veely, Curtis Holtman, Diane Joycey, and Tim Zigmont.
We're going to review the minutes for June 4th.
Joan, we're not hearing you.
You're muted, Joan.
I'm sorry. First item on the agenda is the minutes for the past meetings. We have the review of the minutes for June 4th, 2020. Has everyone had a chance to review those minutes, and do we have a motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve. Diane Jorsey.
Thank you, Diane. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tim. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is anyone opposed out of the four commissioners? Okay, thank you. The minutes for the meeting on June 18th. Has everyone had a chance to review, and do we have a motion?
Madam Chairman, I need to abstain from voting. I wasn't present at that meeting.
Okay, we have an abstention, so that leaves us with 3. So I suggest we table these minutes to the next meeting, as we do not have a quorum to vote on that.
So move.
Thank you, Tim.
Second.
All right. Tim Zigmont had the motion and Curtis Holtman had the second. So we're going to table those. We don't need to vote on that. Okay. The next up is going to be the scheduling of public hearings. The first item is the text amendment of the Metro Realty Ltd. to amend the Berlin zoning regulations 11 BB workforce housing. The suggested date is August 6th.
I'll make a motion to schedule this item for public hearing on August 6th.
Second.
Okay. Thank you, Diane. Thank you, Tim. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Any opposed? So moved. Next item, zone change request of 833 Deming Road LLC and Berlin Remnant Land Parcels LLC to change the zone of block 122, lots 10, 11, 11-2 from residential R43 to office technology to workforce housing. Suggested date on this is also August 6th.
Make a motion to schedule this item for public hearing on August 6th.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Diane. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tim. All those in favor?
Story morning.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So moved. Item C, special permit site plan application of 833 Deming Road LLC and Berlin Remnant Land Parcels LLC to construct 11 residential apartment buildings, total 88 units at lots 10, 11-1, 11-2, block 122 at 0, 823, and 833 Deming Road. Suggested date will be the 6th of August as well.
Make a motion to schedule this item for public hearing on August 6th.
Okay, thank you, Diane. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tim. Further discussion? I have a question, Maureen. Given the venue that we have to have these public hearings, are we not looking at a pretty wild schedule for August 6th? Taking into account, we have a text amendment, a zone change, and then we have a special permit application. I'm just afraid with not being able to meet.
This, if I may, this
Yes, please.
application is basically going to be presented as a package. They will be presenting them separately, but it is all one related to the one property and application of Metro Realty for a multifamily development. So the content and the matter is all one topic in general.
Okay,
We'll probably
thank you for clarifying that. All right, so any other questions?
I will do, if I'm going to add, the wetlands has scheduled a public hearing for this item on August 4th, which is Tuesday. As everyone knows, the Planning and Zoning Commission can't make a determination or decision until wetlands has rendered a decision. So there is some flexibility to, if we needed to keep it open, needed to change it, needed to, you know, depending on what wetlands says, et cetera. But in the interest of moving applications along, we are asking that you schedule it for the 6th. And if it needs to be modified, it can at that time.
Okay, understood. Thank you for that explanation. With that, I'll call for the vote. Those all in favor? Aye. Those opposed? So moved.
What are we voting on?
You just voted on the special permit site plan application to be scheduled for August 6th.
Oh, I thought we did that. I thought we had already done that.
Well, I had halted it because Diana was concerned that with this crazy venue, that looking at those 3 big items, we might be taxing the commission and the planning department.
No, I understand that, but I thought we voted.
We did.
No, now we did.
Okay.
All right.
Well, there was the zone change and then there was the site plan application.
Yeah, the site
It's the
plan.
same address.
Yeah,
Understand that.
she thought I had gone and voted and then came back to it. But no, I'd gone to the question part, and that's when I asked her about it. You had a motion, we had a second, and I posed the question, then I moved the motion. Okay. On to Commissioner business. In accordance with Section 824 of the Connecticut General Statutes, review and recommendation regarding easement or license for the portion of the boulevard to be constructed on property of the Connecticut Department of Transportation. Okay.
I'll present this if you would
Yes,
like.
please, Maureen.
Okay, so on July 7th, the town council voted to refer the easement license to this commission per Connecticut General Statute 824. And the staff has no issues and supports of favorable recommendation to the town council. And I'll just note that the documents will be reviewed by corporation counsel prior to execution. So the purpose of this easement is, this is the DOT easement. So it is to construct and work on the roadway and have the roadway that will be across DOT land to get in from the boulevard across into Depot Road and the train station. And some of that land is DOT's, as you recall, maybe a few months ago, a month ago or so, two, I think it was at least two. We discussed how the road was going to have to temporarily dead end because we didn't have a DOT's permission to go onto their property. They've now, we have that arrangement is being made, and so an easement is going to need to be in place.
Make a motion to approve the 8-24.
Curtis.
So we have a motion to approve by Mr. Zuba. We have a second by Curtis.
Unmute.
Discussion. And all those in favor? Aye.
You gotta unmute, Joan.
We can't hear you.
You're muted.
Okay.
Okay, there you are.
All right, let me go again. I have the motion by Tim. I have a second by Curtis. Is there any further discussion? Then all those in favor? Aye. Any of the four commissioners, are they opposed? Hearing none, so moved. Okay, item B. In accordance with the 824 of the Connecticut General Statutes, review and recommendation regarding the granting of the easement to supply electricity to the boulevard projects and to the Steel Center at Farmington Avenue, transit-oriented development project. And Maureen, do we have something on this?
Very similar situation, the same roadway being the boulevard, which will be serviced, and the developments around it, the lights, etc. Along the roadway will be serviced by Eversource, and therefore an easement is required, both for the installation and the service. The town council, again on July 7th, voted to send the referral to the Planning and Zoning Commission in accordance with the Connecticut General Statutes 824. The documents, again, will be reviewed by Corporation Counsel prior to the execution. And staff has no issues with this. Project has been working on for a long time in anticipation of the improvements. And therefore, staff supports the favorable recommendation to town council.
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, Mr. Zigmont has the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you, Diane. Further discussion, any questions? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed from the commission? All right, then so moved. All right, and then last, we have the discussion of the retail self-storage development.
So this morning, this is something that Chris Edge has been speaking with an applicant regarding, and I believe he's on the line and would like to discuss from the economic development standpoint.
Okay, Mr. Edge.
Thank you, Ms. Juicy. This is Chris Edge, Economic Development Director, Town of Berlin. Yes, what I have given the commission is a concept that a developer's reached out to me on. Essentially, what they have done in other communities is to have a retail front self-storage in the rear. It is done in numerous places, and wanted just to kind of run it by the commission, get your thoughts on it to see whether or not you thought it made sense to pursue something. It would be likely a Berlin Turnpike location. We need either text amendment or similar, but wanted to chat with you about it. From what we've done in the past, self-storage has always been in heavy industrial. That is a location at this point that these developers do not want. They do want to be in the visible areas like the Turnpike. This kind of a concept would not have any garage doors or similar facing the Turnpike, which has always been a concern in the past. And so what you have there essentially is a concept plan and some visuals from an existing location elsewhere. And so wanted to discuss it with you, get your thoughts, and really, so I can work with the applicant and either come forward with something or a modification thereof. It doesn't have to be an answer tonight, but just to get a discussion going with this commission.
So this discussion item is not really a public hearing?
No, it's just a discussion item. There's no action to be taken. It was more to get the thought of the commission if you thought it made sense to pursue. If so, I can move further with them. But for now, this concept is not allowed in town right now. The question for this commission is, would it be something that you would consider looking at on the Turnpike? Again, it would only be in the Turnpike, nowhere else. But there are a couple of parcels that this could be a fit for. But before that step, I wanted to discuss this with you.
Okay, Chris, I have a question for you. What are you proposing as far as, or with this concept, what is the balance between the plaza and the self-storage?
They haven't been told me specifically because they haven't looked at a certain property yet. The way I would see it would be, let's say it's a 60,000 square foot plaza, a 60,000 square foot building. The back half would be 30,000 of storage. The front would be 30,000 of, I'll call it retail, but retail could be H&R Block, medical office, walk-in clinic, restaurant, or traditional retail.
All right, so but basically it would be maybe be proposed as a 50-50, like half storage and half retail. Is that what I'm understanding?
Kind of what I think. Yeah, I think that makes the most sense from a perspective of what would make sense for the town. Because if we have 2,000 square feet of retail in an 80,000 square foot self-storage building, that's not what we want. We want to mix. We want the commercial. We want the activity, not just the self-storage, which is why this concept seemed to make more sense in Berlin than a pure self-storage use.
Okay. All right. This is just a discussion. So how does the commission feel about it? Is it something that we want to pursue or take a look at further?
I'm curious what parcels this might be applicable to.
Chris?
I would say at this point, we're probably looking at a parcel of, let's say, 5 acres and above. I would say ones where it'd be possible would be, let's see, probably industrial surplus. I would say the acreage behind the bowling alley. Further down the Turnpike, just south of Safari Golf, there's a parcel. See what else could work. Those are the ones that, and Golden Triangle, but this doesn't, the economics would not work with the Golden Triangle on a project like this. So I would say probably those 3 would be the first that would come to mind, and even potentially something along the lines of where Mr. Giadio is talking about the apartments. Something like this could probably go there as well.
Thank you. Any other questions?
question, they got a couple here, and there's restaurants and stuff in the front, retail in the front, stores in the back. But the restaurants and retail in the front don't have any access door from the back. So the only access going into these retail is in front. Usually there's a back door for deliveries and stuff like that. So that would have to be taken into consideration if they're building something.
Yeah.
Commissioner Zygmunt, basically, if you look at the plan, there is a dock there, and then there's a common corridor behind all the spaces to go from the dock.
Okay,
So yes, that definitely would be part of the plan.
Okay, so that's the corridor. Okay.
But is this something as a commission that we want to entertain? Or pursue further?
If I may,
Yes, please, Maureen.
also, you've already mentioned a couple of concerns, and if you want to express any other things in particular that you might want us to look at, it was one of the comments when Chris first brought it in was the fact that commercial stay facing the turnpike. We continue with the commercial presence. I think that's something that economic development has indicated to him as well is something that's desirable. But again, adapting to new ways of doing business. We're looking for feedback. These are almost uncharted territories. This kind of use is not something we see very often. We don't see it in a lot of places, so there's not a lot of data on brainstorming it. So if you have any comments, please provide them. The new concept.
I think based on the diagram that's presented, I would be interested to hear more, but I don't think as a commission, I don't think we would be interested to be seeing storage buildings that would be separate from the retail building.
No, I agree. That's the commission has been very clear on that, which is why I'm bringing this concept to you and not a pure storage. I know one of the things that Ms. Giusti and I talked about, which was the access to the storage would be in the rear only. The storage would not have a storefront was one of the things we were saying, because we think it's important to really have that retail look and vibe from the front. So yes, the storage would be part of the mix, but storage would not be the entire mix, because I don't think that is what this commission desires.
But you're saying, Chris, that it would not have a storefront? I mean, the photo or the depiction appears to be a storefront at the back of the building.
No. Well, no. What I mean is that it would be a storefront, but on the rear of the building.
Gotcha.
So it wouldn't be the primary thing you're seeing would not be XYZ storage.
Gotcha.
But yes, they would have to have a storefront, but it would not be in the front of the building where we're promoting the commercial plaza. It's not to promote first and foremost the storage. You may be on the sign, but I don't want a big, huge banner on the front that sells. I mean, you go to some communities, especially off major highways, you see the big old blown up lock. That's not what we want on our turnpike. We want it to be tasteful if something like this comes in.
Okay. Well, I'd be interested to hear more.
All righty. And any other feedback from the commissions? Do we just tell them to, see if you could put something together and then bring it before the commission, and then we can go from there. They'll give us a chance to think on it too, Chris.
Absolutely, yeah, and I can go back to them and talk about what they're thinking, and if it's something they'd like to do, maybe even to propose some language that the commission can look at. Because before we do anything, we have to add language to it. But I'll get back to them, let you know that the commission is interested in hearing more. I'll put it that way, and then see what kind of feedback I get from them, and then get back in touch with Ms. Giusti.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you.
This is Maureen.
Perfect. Thank
We
you all
can
for your
also do a little more legwork on it and figure out, and do a little more research, but we really wanted a little bit of feedback from the commission as to whether or not that was a worthwhile endeavor. So
Yeah.
it sounds like if you'd like more information, we'll try to compile more information. Thank you.
That'd be
And
great.
what I-
Thank you.
what-
Do we need a
yeah,
motion on that?
And as Chris said,
No.
one last thing, Commissioner, Chairman Bailey, I can check with my compatriots as well and see if anybody else has something like this in their communities. If so, that may give us some insight, how it works, what the mix is, what they think of it, and I can bring that back to you as well.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
This is I've seen this concept in the southern Virginia, Maryland area. I do like the concept of the building being broken up in different architectures, different sidings, different brick, whatever, for each unit. It does, the way that is shown, does look like it's, more classy
Well, it's like, yeah, it's,
than a
So-
square brick building,
yeah. Well, we'll see what they come up with. Okay, great. Okay. Then,
Thank you very much.
no problem, Chris. Thank you. So now we're going to move into the public hearings portion. The item on the agenda is the proposed amendments to the Berlin zoning regulations regarding outdoor storage in industrial zones. Do we have anyone here?
This is Maureen. Can I interrupt for one moment?
Sure.
At this point, Jennifer would rather take over. But I would ask that the commission vote to amend the agenda, or I don't know if that's necessary, to postpone the public hearing and instead have a little more further discussion with staff in compiling of the regulations for the wording that we're proposing. And have a little more direction there, and discussion with regard to whether what we're sending out for public comment is closer to what the commission is looking for, in that we did have some difficulties both with technology and with finishing up the document in order to distribute it properly for viewing before the public hearing.
Yes. Okay, terrific.
Causes us some concern to have it not be available for view before the public hearing.
That's an excellent idea.
This probably should have been under discussion, not public hearing tonight.
Yeah, we thought we would be able to get that done, and there's been a lot of issues with our new technologies and et cetera that we're all working on.
Yeah,
And
well,
we're sorry
here,
for
here.
that. The staff did intend to have you see this earlier.
We're all over 16 years old. Can't do this stuff.
So do we then just,
If you would, could you, I believe Jennifer is trying to say something.
Okay.
And would like to contribute to this conversation, maybe before you make an announcement. So
She's
I
running.
think she's moving to a different location.
Hello.
she's traveling.
I was wondering where she went.
Okay.
I don't know, I'm picking up sound that makes no sense.
All right. Well, I can turn my volume down if you want. Right.
Do we want a motion to postpone?
Well, Jennifer wants
Reschedule?
to, we are gonna,
We could just table it.
yeah, well, did you want to?
I do want to present the language.
Okay. All right. Hang on, everyone. Jennifer is in the room.
So could you put up the first
Well,
document?
you can't postpone, you have to make a motion to schedule.
She didn't want to, she wanted to make a statement. She wanted to make a statement before the motion.
Oh, okay. Am I sharing my screen?
Yes.
They're for sure seeing what I'm seeing.
Did you share it?
I'm not sure. Hold on one second while we work.
We don't want the time to start, do we?
And then you have to just.
Oh, that's this one. Share content. Got it. Share screen. Okay, bear with us for 1 second. We're doing new things here as it loads.
Oh, we have to make it.
Okay, so that, right?
Same page as far as all.
Say, Joan, why don't you mute for a while?
Joan, can you confirm you can see my screen with regulations on it? No.
No. I just see the window in the background. Nope, there's Jennifer. There goes Jennifer.
I'm gonna cancel that again.
Just trying to mute us.
Oh, shit, maybe I have to do that. You probably have to shut that. Let's see.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
This technology.
Click on it, and then the far left icon of the bottom. Far left.
Okay, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So just taking you through, you'll recall that there was an issue that arose where it was brought to our attention that there was a conflict between some of the language in your plan industrial zones regulations that conflicted with the general industrial zone regulations that you have in section 7G. And then what ended up happening is we were working on that and we had decided upon some final language. Chris Edge had brought to your attention some concern with the trailer restrictions, so vehicle trailers. So we had a discussion about that. Going through your industrial zone regulations, I just wanted to point out to you because I think that this is important for an overview about what you're going to be potentially changing to get a sense of what the various provisions provide for in terms of outdoor storage. So what's up on your screen that's being shared right now is the entire Section 7 industrial zones section of your regulations. Just going through, so that starts at page 89 with the zone of office technology, so OT and office technology 2, so OT2. The way that each section is set up, you have your purpose, your permitted site plan uses, your special permit uses, and then permitted accessory building structures and uses, as well as in some of the sections, additional requirements. Or additional allowances. So looking at section A, so section 7 of your regs, subsection A6G, the provision for OT and OT2 for outside overnight parking and storage of vehicles or equipment. And again, this has to do with the trailer consideration, indicates that outside overnight parking or storage of vehicles or equipment, provided that no vehicle or equipment shall be parked within any required yard, and that the commission may require appropriate screening in accordance with section 9B, that is a permitted accessory use. So again, the outside overnight parking or storage of vehicles or equipment in the office technology zones of OT and OT2 is permitted. Then as we move down to general industrial, again, this is at page 91 of your zoning regulations. This is subsection B of section 7. Going down to the permitted accessory building structures and uses section of that subsection B for the GI zone. In 4E, you have the display or sale of goods made, processed, or assembled on premises only. So again, that's the display is, a permitted accessory use. And again, it's the display or sale of goods made, processed, or assembled on premises only in general industrial zones. But there is the provision in subsection 4 of 4E that no goods shall be displayed outside. And then in 4F, we again see that language of the outside overnight parking of vehicles or equipment, provided that no vehicle or equipment shall be parked within any required yard, and that the commission may require appropriate screening in accordance with the provisions of section 9B. Moving on to general industrial 2, we see a change in language. Again, that's section C of, or subsection C of section 7. So for general industrial 2, GI 2, going down to the special permit uses. So in section 3 of the general industrial or GI2 zone, we have in 3E allowed as a special permit use contractor shops for establishments providing courier services, industrial repair services, irrigation services, landscape services, and building trades such as carpentry, electrical, HVAC, and plumbing services, provided that notwithstanding section 7G3, which we're going to talk about, we've already had some good discussion about changing that language of the regulations. All materials and equipment are stored inside approved structures or on contractors' utility truck, and specifically excluding the outside parking of trailers. So this is language that we're going to see in Planned Industrial 2 that Chris Edge came before you and was requesting consideration that language be changed. So moving along, we see similar language again to what we saw in the GI zone, permitted accessory buildings and structures, 4D, subsection 4 of 4D, display or sale of goods made, processed, or assembled on premises only is a permitted use, provided that no goods shall be displayed outside. And then again, we see that similar language in subsection F of the section 4, the outside overnight parking of vehicles or equipment, provided that no vehicle or equipment shall be parked within any required yard, and that the Planning and Zoning Commission may require appropriate screening in accordance with provisions of section 9B. Moving on to the planned industrial zones in subsection D of section 7 of the regs. Under the special permit uses, which is in section 3 of that subsection D, again, we see the contractor shops being permitted pursuant to special permit. So that same language, contractor shops for establishments providing courier services, industrial repair services, irrigation services, landscape services, and building trades such as carpentry, electrical, HVAC, and plumbing services, provided that notwithstanding section 7G3 of the regulations, all materials and equipment are stored indoors, and specifically excluding the outside parking of trailers. Again, in 4E, subsection 4 there, one of the permitted uses is the display or sale of goods made, processed, or assembled on premises, provided that no goods shall be displayed outside. And we see as an additional permitted use again in 4F. Again, this is for planned industrial PI, outside overnight parking of vehicles or equipment, provided that no vehicle or equipment shall be parked within any required within any required yard, and that the commission may require appropriate screening. And then in the planned industrial, under additional requirements for permitted uses, subsection D5 of section 7 of your regs. Additional requirements for permitted uses in the PI district are as follows. All permitted operations of related storage except for the parking of motor vehicles shall be conducted within a building except in accordance with section 7D4F, which I just recited. And we see in Planned Industrial 2, which starts at the bottom of page 95, which is subsection E. As a special permit use, we've got landscape contractors, provided that all equipment and material are stored indoors or if outdoors properly screened. So that's in K. But then we also have that same language for contractor shops, which includes landscape services. And you'll recall that when we talked about the trailers, we talked specifically about the landscape use as a permitted use pursuant to special permit. And the language again is similar for contractor shops, and it has that problematic language. Mr. Edgedine's language to be problematic, of specifically excluding the outside parking of trailers. And again, similar language regarding display or sale of goods made, processed, or assembled on premises of no goods shall be displayed outside. And then the permitted accessory use of overnight parking and of vehicles and equipment, provided that no vehicles or equipment shall be parked within any required yard, and that the commission may require appropriate screening. And then we see some different language here in PI2 in terms of additional requirements for permitted uses. All permitted operations and related storage. So this is similar to PI. There's an additional subsection B. All permitted operations of related storage, except for the parking of motor vehicles, shall be conducted within the building, except in accordance with section 7E4E. So that's immediately above. And then that additional citation there, the language is similar in C4F. I think what happened was it just simply was not removed. So that is something that is an error there that needs to be removed, that additional reference. But then we see subsection B, no parking shall be permitted in the required front yard setback. All front yard areas shall be suitably landscaped as required by section 9C. So then moving along, taking you to the general requirements for all industrial zones, which is where we started when we embarked upon this discussion of necessary amendments to this regulatory section 7 of your regs. Subsection 3 currently reads outside storage, including the storage of merchandise, supplies, machinery, and other materials, shall be allowed in the town's industrial zones, general industry, planned industry, and office laboratory. Outside storage areas shall be located in the rear or side yards on the same premises of the principal use building and shall not extend into the area required for setback from the street line or into the required side yards adjacent to any non-industrial zone. Outside storage areas shall be enclosed by buildings, fences, walls, landscape, earthen berms, or evergreen shrubs or trees so as to provide an opaque screen from adjacent lots or streets. All outside storage areas shall be subject to site plan review by the commission, and the commission has the discretion to require non-permeable ground barriers and storage covers where appropriate. If you could just give me one moment, there is another document that I would like to share so I could take you through what we're proposing at this point. So they think I stopped sharing and then press again. Is that?
Oh, you can go.
You should be able to now see the proposed amendments to section 7. Can everyone see that?
Yes, yep.
So we had a lot of back and forth about what was necessary to change, and we are proposing at this point some very simple changes. You will recall that with regard to our discussion of trailers, it was somewhat confused because it is a difficult discussion as far as the types of vehicles that should be allowed, as to uncertainty of size and weight and so on and so forth. So what we're proposing at this point is to change, and I'm going to take you through the various proposed amendments. There is one amendment to the GI2, and that's to section 7C3E, to deal with that language, that language that has been identified as problematic language by Mr. Edge, to change it to indicate, rather than specifically excluding the outside parking of trailers, and the outside parking of trailers shall only be permitted pursuant to such conditions as the commission may impose. And our thinking on this is that it be kept a very general, so that way you can take into consideration the size, the weight, the use and such of the particular trailers, because obviously there are a variety. In terms of section, in this, I'm going to move on to planned industrial. This is under section 2 of the proposed amendments. In the planned industrial reg, there are 2 changes being proposed at section 7D3G and section 7D5A. A similar language to what I just discussed for the GI2 zone, to section 3G of subsection D. We see that contractor language again, excluding the outside parking of trailers. So the same proposed change to allow the outside parking of trailers permitted to such conditions as the commission may impose. And then with regard to additional requirements for permitted uses, which is in section 5, adding that all permitted operations of related storage, except for parking of motor vehicles, shall be conducted within a building, except in accordance with section 7D4F and or section 7G3. And we'll get to the change in that language.
This is Maureen. I just want to clarify something for everyone, especially since we have some people that are listening by telephone instead of and not being able to see the content that's being shown. The content will be posted tomorrow on the website, and according, as it's being presented tonight, and the statute calls for it to be, or the executive order calls for it to be posted tomorrow. So it'll be posted tomorrow on the website. So if you're getting confused, if you're listening to this only through audio, I just wanted you not to be scrambling to take notes and not understand what's going on. This is an explanation, not the public hearing, and will be addressed.
So moving on to PI2, we see the same change in 7E3M, again, because a special permit use is contractor shop. So we'll be proposing to change the end of that to permit outside parking of trailers pursuant to such conditions as the commission may impose. Same change to section 5 in PI2 as well, to add the reference to section 7G3. And now 7G3 is the section that we had previously discussed. And I think that the changes, again, looking at what I just went through, make a lot of sense, because I think the reason why I engaged in the exercise was that so you can see the conflict between the original language of this section and the sections that I have reviewed. So section 7G3, there are a number of proposed changes to it. The beginning language is going to remain the same. we did move the requirement of it being subject to site plan approval, which appears later in the language as it currently exists, to the start of the section. And again, I'm speaking of paragraph 3 of section 7G. So outside storage, including the storage of merchandise, supplies, machinery, and or other materials directly related to the operation of the principal use, may be permitted in the town's general industrial and planned industrial zones. We've eliminated their office laboratory because that is no longer under the industrial zone section, and subject to the site plan approval by the commission in accordance with your site plan approval section 13 of your regs. Outside storage areas, we've eliminated shall be located in the rear or side yards on the same premises of the principal use building, but the remainder of the language in that sentence remains the same. So outside storage areas shall not extend into the area required for setback from the street line or into the required side yards adjacent to any non-industrial zone. We have sort of beefed up the screening language. Outside storage areas shall be enclosed by buildings, fences, walls, landscaped earthen berms, or evergreen shrubs and trees, and or other acceptable structures or screening as determined by the commission, so as to provide a suitable screen from adjacent lots or streets, rather than opaque, because that's, I'm sorry? Yes, we previously discussed the fact that opaque was not appropriate, that suitable was more what you were looking for. In terms of the next sentence, it's a new sentence. Again, we moved up the requirement of site plan review to the first sentence of the section. In no case shall stored merchandise, supplies, and or other materials exceed the height of the screening. Again, this is something that we talked about. Please note too, with regard to this, that at the start of the section, we talk about outside storage and the storage of merchandise, supplies, machinery, and or other materials. So we're indicating that it is merchandise, supplies, and or other materials exceeding the height of the screening. That's not going to be allowed. In no case shall stored merchandise, supplies, and or other materials exceeding the height of the screening be allowed. Okay. So the issue with that, and I think this was also part of our discussion, is that in some instances there may be machinery that in use may exceed the height of the screening. So the commission has the discretion to require non-permeable ground barriers and storage covers. We've eliminated where appropriate. The commission will determine that. They have the discretion to determine it. No tractor trailer. This is new language. Next two sentences, new language. No tractor trailer or truck loaded with merchandise, supplies, and or other materials shall be parked in a lot for a period exceeding 5 consecutive days in 1 calendar month. We chose, again, this was this sentence was the subject of a good deal of discussion among staff, and we also talked to the commission members about this. We chose the 5 consecutive days, taking into account that in some instances we have 3-day weekends, but we are again putting a limit on the ability of tractor trailers and trucks to remain unloaded with merchandise, supplies, and other materials on the general industrial and planned industrial properties. Lastly, and this is very important, proper access to all buildings shall be maintained at all times, and outside storage shall not interfere with access or required parking. So that's what we have. As we've indicated to you, we wanted to have a discussion. We want to hear from you. Are there any concerns that you have with what we've done? Again, a lot of discussion because there were a lot of ways we could have gone, but we think that we need to see sort of, is this what we've done workable to achieve what we want to achieve at this point, and we'll revise in the future for the further proposed amendments if we need to. But we thought this was a good start.
Okay,
Input?
Jennifer, let me ask a question. Because this was supposed to be an item that was supposed to be up for public hearing, don't we need to, at this point, extend this or delay the public hearing before we have a discussion about it?
Well, you could give us some input. We want to make sure that before we post this for the public hearing, that it is achieving what was discussed. In our opinion, it does achieve that, but we would like some input from you. And then, so that way, if there's anything that you would like to see changed, we will change it before we post it for the public hearing.
Okay, thank you. There's only one thing that sort of jumped out at me, and that was at the very end. And now, again, you did a nice recap here, but I think I'm going to have to really look at this reg long and hard. But when we were talking about the proposed amendments that you have for the text, one thing that's in the very last paragraph, and this is section 7G3, item 3. It says that no tractor trailer loaded with merchandise, supplies, and/or materials shall be parked in a lot for a period exceeding 5 consecutive days in 1 calendar month. I think my concern is that if you have somebody who is trying to skirt the regulation, that you may have them park for 4 days, then perhaps move it off site or to another part of the site and repark it, so that they always stay under that 5-day threshold. Now, I don't know how that works with this regulation. But I mean, it's just an observation on my part. So I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into it. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think that the language as is fine, because it says that it shall not be parked in a lot. So the idea that they would be able to, move it around to a different location of a lot, and that keep it in compliance. That's clearly disallowed by the plain meaning of the language.
But could they move it off of lot for 1 day and come back and do another 4 days? I mean, I'm not trying to give you a hard time. I mean, I'm just.
I mean, look, I think the intention of it is clear. The idea is that, and this was proposed by Maureen, and Maureen could jump in. She got up from her seat. So I think that she wants to say something. I'm going to just step away. It's all right. I don't need to be on camera to talk. I think that is true. I think we did discuss this a little bit, and we worked to get language that, is manageable and workable and yet still enforceable. However, there was some discussion about the types of uses that, especially a smaller business making something who might do deliveries less frequently. And then the truck comes back and sits for a couple of days, and then they do more deliveries. So we wanted to allow for that as well as holiday weekends and things like that, but wanted to still have not having the trucks stored on a site with materials in them.
That's the enforcement nightmare. When does the 5 days start? When you spotted it? No, they had it on for all month, but someone from town only spotted it today. So would the 5 days start today? That's an enforcement nightmare. That's an enforcement nightmare for someone.
So Tim's head keeps disappearing on the video. He looks funny.
I think somebody's trying to beat him up.
What jumps out at me are two things in that same paragraph. The word suitable seems to be too like overly subjective. That's going to vary from one commission to the next. As commission members change, you're going to see different opinions as to what is a suitable screen. And then getting back to that last sentence about the tractor trailer truck, what if the tractor trailer truck is empty? It specifically says loaded with merchandise. So the example that Maureen used is that the truck could go out and make deliveries and come back, presumably empty, and then reload. So to me, the word loaded with merchandise enhances the enforcement nightmare.
So is it the desire of the commission to remove that sentence at this point?
When we started this, we were talking about trailers. We were talking about plumbers' trailers, landscaping trailers, and stuff like that.
We just
weren't talking about tractor trailers because that was a weight limit when we were talking about weight limits and everything else. Tractor trailers is a total different.
The discussion, Mr. Zigmont, the discussion, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. It's a little bit hard to hear. The discussion around this particular addition to this section, that was before Mr. Edge raised the issue with trailers. So this was something that was an addition that was made in the preceding meeting.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to
Get at the fact that, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to throw out there, just take the language out, whether it's loaded with merchandise, unloaded with merchandise, it doesn't matter. If the tractor trailer is sitting there for 5 days, it doesn't matter whether there's something in it or not.
One of the other things is, what if it's not a tractor trailer? What if it's a straight job?
Yeah.
Well, exactly.
Oh, we have a lot to think about, don't we, gang?
Well,
Okay.
You know,
Well, at
maybe
least this-
we're overcomplicating it.
Well, this is at least as we are not in public hearing, but at least we're kind of giving some direction. And I think that that's important. So I'm hoping that all of us will look at this regulation a little bit closer. Are we going to have a motion then to delay the public hearing? Is that, Maureen, is that what we're going to, is that what the advice is for?
So Maureen is going to step in front of the camera.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, I'm back here. I'm gonna. Oh,
No, it's all right. I just didn't know without
did you see
getting,
me, Paul?
I mean, so,
I'm gonna stop sharing the screen and hopefully get back to you guys. Hold on one moment. There we go. Okay, here I am back again. I think you need to vote for a new date to have the public hearing, which we're recommending. I'm gonna look to Jennifer to make sure she's available as well, but to August 6th again.
you want that on August 6th?
Yes, I know you're a little concerned about the content of the day, but we have discussed this a long time, and I think some of the conversation we've had previously has been muddled by the number of months since the conversation started with the conflicts we have in our original regulations, and I think it's good when it's in our forefront.
Okay, but do you think we want to just schedule this as a discussion then, as opposed to a public hearing on August 6th? So that given the commission will have a chance to visit the proposed amendments and perhaps be ready to address them more either point by point or suggest fine tuning?
I don't think 6 is the date, man, because we got those 3 public hearings.
I'm sorry, what, Tim?
I don't think August 6th is the date because we have the 3 public hearings, same item, but 3 public hearings, that's gonna be a long time.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that not necessarily have this on the item, on the agenda as a public hearing, just a proposed discussion. So that if we have any specific concerns or suggestions we would have for Jennifer and Maureen, we would be able to share them and then give them some directions so they can work on the the verbiage.
This is Maureen. I'm thinking with the way we have it today with a redlined copy and the highlighting of the conflicts in the regs that we've discussed previously, that I think the comments now probably can move forward to public hearing. You've given us a lot of feedback. We have the notes from the at least 2, maybe 3 previous discussions we had. We've been incorporating them all. Actually, I think it might have even actually been 4 discussions, given I forgot about the ones that were virtual. And so I think regulations can be amended during the public hearing. You know, during your deliberation, you can tweak things and change them. So I think just getting it onto an agenda to be vetted in the public hearing setting is the appropriate next step. The date of that is, you know, the commission should, you know, be thinking about the size of the agendas or whether they feel it can be handled at that same meeting. But I think we are ready to move to the next step with actual language in a public hearing.
Okay.
Again, commission's decision though.
Okay. Commission, well, how do we feel?
What would the next date after the August 6th meeting be?
It should be August 20th. Again, because I'm using my new computer that I got today at work to do this. I don't have the schedule right in front of me, but my calendar is showing me that the third Thursday is August 20th.
And do you foresee that being a busy agenda?
The agendas just have a life of their own. So far, we don't have pending applications coming in yet. There's one that's probably in the works that I'm expecting to come in. Again, hard to say.
Yeah.
While we're thinking about this, there's one other point that comes to mind for me for consideration, and that is rooftop storage. There's a property that I have noticed along the turnpike is storing equipment on the rooftop of a outside shed. And so that storage on the rooftop is higher than the fencing that's in place. So you already have language proposed to not exceed the height of the screening. But you might want to consider something about no rooftop storage.
Good point.
You're very observant.
Yeah. So I guess, you know, personally, I don't really have a preference date-wise for a public hearing because the August 6th meeting, everything is pretty much combined.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and the other thing we have to consider is, would it make sense to schedule this public hearing when we're meeting in person again instead of trying to do it electronically? I don't know when we're going to open up, but the 20th may not be soon enough.
Maureen, I know that you and I had some discussion perhaps about maybe our next meeting, bringing the commission in and letting the public do the Zoom half of it while we try to handle business in real time. Right.
we are still looking at the legalities and, having it. We want to make sure that we have the proper public access to meetings, and we want to make sure we meet the intent of the law of public participation. So we're still exploring whether that can be done, particularly at a public hearing. But my concern for the in-person and waiting, we could be waiting for a year or two. You might recall that one of the reasons we were going for asked for this amendment to the regulations, one of the reasons was the conflict in the regulations with regard to managing it from an enforcement standpoint. They're conflicting with each other. We have that, especially if you look at that one where it says the landscape contractors are allowed, and then in K and in M it says they have to have the screening, and a sentence before it said they didn't. So, or rather trailers outside, and it's been, since I started, a nightmare as far as trying to explain to the industrial uses what they are and aren't allowed to have, as well as the people in the surrounding them. So, I'd like to move forward in some way. Again, I can't say on the whether we can meet in person and whether you want to wait for that. My fear from, listening to the data is that could be a very long time. And we'd like to.
So I'm sort of hearing the argument that perhaps we should go forward with the 6th of August, and at least if we open the public hearing at that date, doesn't mean that we will be closing the public hearing on that date. So it'll be a work in progress.
Can I also add to that? Well, I have two things. One is a question. If you're indicating you'd like us to eliminate that sentence at the end with regard to the loaded trailers and trucks, or if so that's the first question, if you're looking to have us eliminate that sentence. And the other is that, remember, this is a staff proposed amendment, so therefore we're not, I believe, I'm looking at Jennifer to make sure she confirms with me, but we're not confined to the timelines for closing the public hearing. Is that correct? That is correct. We are not confined to the timeline we normally are with closing and acting on amendments that we're proposing ourselves. We can discuss them for longer.
Yeah.
Or hold it up if not necessary. Not that we want to do that. We want to wrap things up, but we don't want to make hasty choices either.
To address your question, yes, I think you could probably strike loaded with merchandise, supplies, and or other materials. So that this way it would read, no tractor, trailer, or truck shall be parked in the lot for a period exceeding 5 consecutive days. Blah, blah, blah.
Okay, thank you.
Diane, did you have anything else you wanted to add on that?
I'm just wondering if, I'm trying to remember if the text was for special permit or a permitted use. If it's special permit, it could be subject to the commission's approval.
That's true.
And it would give you some give the commission some latitude to work with each property.
Good point for us. Thank you for making that point.
Yep. Okay. And as for the rest of it, I have to read it, go back over, put my thinking cap on.
That's trouble.
So this is Maureen again. So to
Nice.
refocus, the point, the next focus would be determining which date and voting on a date for the scheduling the public hearing.
Okay. All right, commission, we're up. Do we want to do August 6th to open the public hearing to keep things moving positive way and also giving us a chance to revisit this document.
And as long as we're not hooked in that time frame, August is okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
I don't see a problem with it as long as we don't have a time.
all right. Well, I think I'm hearing a motion from you, Tim.
Make a motion to bring it on August 6th. Right?
Okay,
All
all right, we have the motion and Mr. Holtman just seconded. So Curtis has the second. Further discussion? Then all those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
All right, those opposed? Any of the commission? Okay. All right, terrific. So that's going to be August 6th. And everyone, take a look at the regulations and let's put some good ideas together. All right. And then under old business was the same, but we're just continuing that onto August 6th. So I think the last thing we have to do is actually adjourn.
Make a motion.
I make a motion.
All right, well, I'm going to give it to Diane. Ladies first. Diane gets the motion, but Tim, I'll give you the second.
Okay. Whatever.
All right, motion to adjourn. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? So moved. Okay, unanimous. All right, good night, everyone. Thank you for your time and your patience, and have a nice weekend.
This is Chris Edge. Thank you, everybody, for your hard work on this, especially Attorney Capola and Maureen.
Okay, yes.
And everybody
okay.
have a great night.
Yes, goodbye,
You
Chris.
too.
Yeah,
Okay.
bye for now. I'm going to sign off. Out of here.
Good night.
Leave the meeting.